You may think by the time a driver reaches the age of 41, there wouldn't be many teams interested in acquiring his services, but in fact, the opposite is true when it comes to the one and only Fernando Alonso. So stay tuned as we speculate on Alonso's future and how he could return to one of his former teams. Alonso's resurgence. Fernando Alonso already has his place in Formula One history. He won the World Championship back-to-back in 2005 and 2006, fending off the legendary Michael Schumacher, but his career is not just known for success, but also its longevity. Alonso has the record for the most laps raced and the most race entered, and when he moved to Aston Martin for the 2023 season, many thought it was the final swan song in an excellent career. But very few would have predicted what came next. From as early as pre-season testing, it was clear the Aston Martin team, who had finished 7th in 2022, were a force. That was proven in the Bahrain Grand Prix, with Alonso finishing on the podium for the first time since 2021, and since then, he's added 4 more podium finishes to his tally. Alonso has defied expectations when it comes to what to expect from a driver over the age of 40, and there's already speculation on what may come next for the Spaniard. Alonso's Aston deal. When Alonso made the bold switch from Alpine to Aston Martin, he signed a 2-year deal with the Silverstone outfit, which would take him to the end of the 2024 season. At the time of the announcement, the whole world assumed this would be Alonso's last contract in F1, even his girlfriend at the time thought so. Andreas Schlager said, "He currently has a 2-year contract and it will most likely be the last." But recent quotes suggest Alonso may be starting to change his mind. He recently said, "Things seem to be going better than we expected this year, and maybe that means being tempted to extend the contract in the future. But there's also the temptation to finish and do it with a smile on my face. I don't know, honestly." From Aston's side, it seems they too would be interested in extending Alonso's stay. Having heard what Alonso said, team principal Mike Crack said the team would be happy with that. Crack said, "It's good to hear that. He has said that he wants to be there for several years and we would be happy with that. I think the main thing, and this is one of the great qualities, is the desire he has to be in front and his motivation." They're not the only ones either, with Alfa Romeo's team representative, Alessandro Aluni Bravi, saying he would always sign Fernando given the chance. "I would always sign Fernando, even at 45 years or more. I was able to get to know him well at McLaren when I was the manager of Stoffel van Dorn, who was his teammate. I was able to see firsthand the work he can do on a day-to-day basis as a driver, his ability, his great determination. He's a champion. You don't win 2 F1 titles if you don't have certain characteristics. It's a pleasure for me to see him." No doubt Aston Martin performing above everyone's expectations has played a role in Alonso's thinking, but one thing is clear, he's not afraid to go to a better option. Right now, that option is Aston Martin, but Alonso is desperate to win his 33rd race and his first in over a decade. Should Aston Martin not achieve that come the end of 2024, may he look elsewhere. Aston Martin started the 2023 season incredibly strongly and were clearly the second best team behind the dominant Red Bull, meaning that if Christian Horner's men ever slipped up, Alonso would be in prime position to make the most of that. But following the Spanish Grand Prix, the dynamic has shifted and it appears Mercedes have emerged as one of the top contenders ahead of Aston Martin. Aston then have a job to develop and upgrade their car at a quick enough pace to keep them competitive and give Alonso every chance of winning a race. If they do that, then Alonso will almost certainly stay with the team past 2024. But there is one question yet to be answered, and that is what if a certain team in red came calling? Ferrari troubles. While things are all good at Aston Martin, it's almost the entire opposite at Ferrari. The team has struggled for performance and reliability in 2023 and find themselves 4th in the standings, having been on the podium just once so far. The problems are not just with the car either. There are constant rumours that higher ups such as Chairman John Elkann and CEO Benedetto Vigna are meddling with the sporting side of the operation, and this has angered the staff inside the Maranello factory. While these staff members are never going to come out and publicly speak against their bosses, their feelings can be seen in the fact that so many of them have decided to pack up and leave. Engineering chief David Sanchez quit to join McLaren next year. Assistant team principal and race director Laurent Mekies will move to AlphaTauri at the end of the season, and of course Mattia Binotto, a man who had 27 years of experience working with Ferrari, resigned as team principal at the end of 2022. Put this together with an underperforming car and it gives Ferrari a nightmare situation, and one which may cost them their best driver. Charles Leclerc has been with Ferrari since the 2019 season and his contract runs to the end of 2024, but there's already talk he's considering his options. Anyone who's watched any of Leclerc's interviews over the past year will have seen a dejected and oftentimes heartbroken man, for while Max Verstappen has swept up every trophy going, Leclerc, who is the same age as the Dutchman, has had to watch on from the sidelines. His most recent interview following his Q1 exit in Spain spoke volumes of just how frustrated he is. He described the SF23 as undrivable, said the team didn't have a clue what was wrong and didn't hold much hope that they would be able to fix it. Leclerc is like all Formula 1 drivers and is insanely competitive. He wants to win, but the reality is he's not done that since last year's Austrian Grand Prix and doesn't currently look likely of doing so. Will Leclerc's love of Ferrari be broken? Now, there are some drivers on the current grid who seem so wedded with their current teams that it's hard to picture them anywhere else. Lando Norris at McLaren, Verstappen at Red Bull, Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, and of course Leclerc at Ferrari. But it is the Monegasque who it seems would find it incredibly difficult to leave Maranello. He recently said, "Have I fulfilled all my dreams? No, being a Ferrari driver in Formula 1 was one of my dreams and I achieved it, but I want to win at least one championship." Winning a world championship with Ferrari is a goal that every driver who has ever raced for them has dreamt of, but it's been 16 years since anyone has done so. It seems now then that Leclerc is starting to think with his head and not with his heart. A driver of Leclerc's talent is one that everyone would be interested in, but there is reportedly one destination that is more likely than the rest. Italian F1 journalist Leo Turini described it as an open secret that Leclerc was having discussions with Mercedes in line to a move there, and the timelines make sense. Were Hamilton to stay for another year, then Leclerc would be a free agent to make the move across, and even if Hamilton decides to call it quits at the end of 2023, with just a year left on Leclerc's deal, Mercedes wouldn't have to pay too much in compensation. Leclerc's future is up there with Hamilton's and Norris in terms of the biggest off-track topics, but say if Leclerc does move at the end of 2024, who would take up his seat? Could Alonso move to Ferrari? A potential successor to Leclerc's Ferrari seat could be the return of Fernando Alonso to Maranello. Alonso drove for Ferrari from 2011 to 2014, and while he was one of the many drivers unable to win the championship, his time at the team was by no means a failure. He won 6 races and finished second in 3 of his 4 seasons, and even now he clearly loves the atmosphere surrounding the team. He said ahead of the 2022 race at Monza, "If you've driven for Ferrari, you always feel the love and support every time you return to Monza. Being a Ferrari driver here gives you extra motivation. I never look back, but obviously it's nice to see what I've achieved in these years." And if, like Leclerc, we think with our heads rather than our hearts, the move does make sense. As well as having a reputation for being one of the quickest and smartest drivers in F1 history, Alonso is also possibly the most demanding when it comes to the team atmosphere. Ahead of his move to Aston Martin, Mike Crack was constantly asked whether he would be able to handle Alonso away from the track, and the reason for that is Alonso demands perfection from everyone working for the team. Could then he be the man to resurrect a broken Ferrari? Alonso will not be as willing to toe the party line as Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are, and if the upper management said something he doesn't like, Alonso wouldn't think twice about telling them how he truly feels. Ferrari look like they're in need of an injection of ruthlessness, and what better man to do that than a Fernando Alonso with something to prove? It could end in disaster, or it could be one of the smartest moves in Alonso's and Ferrari's history. So let us know in the comments where you think Alonso will be in 2025, and also if you think he could be a success at Ferrari. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a release here on the DRS Straight.